Welcome back. Part 2 of the Harvest Demon build. Today we're going to carve the face in, get the holes filled in, do a little finish painting, and hopefully by the time this clip is done, have him at 100% minus the motors and the electronics that we're going to be putting in afterwards. So what I did is I went online, I found some inspiration, looked at a bunch of different carvings, faces, found something that I really liked, decided to go with something like this. Well, hopefully it looks like this when I'm done. We'll see. With all Halloween builds, you got to have a little bit of wiggle room. Things don't always turn out the way you want. I found all sorts of things that I'm like, I want to do exactly that. And I do it, and it doesn't look anything like that. And I'm happy with what I have, but I wasn't able to mimic somebody else's build. So this is what I'm going after, but there might be a tooth that comes out with the foam that I wasn't planning on coming out, or maybe the shape just kind of reveals itself a little differently. But it's always good to have a rough idea of where you're going before you start carving. I have a couple different tools here. I have a saw, I have a drywall saw. I have a feeling both of these are going to be a little bit too coarse for getting through that foam because I don't want the foam to tear out. I think my go-to is going to be, I have these Victorinox knives. They're about $7 on Amazon. They are super sharp. They're like little serrated razors. And I got a brand new one here that's still in the plastic. So I'm going to start with this as my carving tool. I think that's going to be perfect for cutting through the foam without tearing it out, and also puncturing that beach ball that's inside that's holding this foam in its shape when it was setting. So I'm going to get started with carving. Wish me luck, and we'll see how it goes.
Yo, you want to see something cool? No? Well, I'm going to do it anyway.
So here's the rough cut. He's still looking pretty jacked up, but overall I'm happy with the way this turned out because I see the potential that he's going to have. We lost a couple of teeth that I was planning on keeping. The foam was thicker than I thought it was, so that was a bit of a curveball because this Victorinox knife was perfect. It cut through so easily. However, it wasn't thick enough to get all the way through, so that's why I had to switch over to the drywall knife after I carved it with the Victorinox to go in and just trace those lines with the drywall knife. But it actually worked out pretty well because where it has a blade on both sides, you would start in the middle and back drag it and then forward drag it to get your cut both ways without flipping the knife around. However, if you have thinner thickness on your foam, and you can get away with one of these Victorinoxes, or if you have a longer, really sharp knife that you don't use in like your kitchen or something like that, because it definitely will dull the blade quite a bit, I would recommend it because this was like cutting butter. This was a little bit more work, but it did the trick. I have a bit of cleanup work to do. Now I'll be able to take that Victorinox, get in, shape the teeth a little bit, maybe cut out a little of this backside of the foam, open up the eyes a little bit more. But at this point here, we can at least see what we're working with. I'm gonna go ahead and do all that shaping and stuff like that off video. And then when it's time to start filling in all these little knobbly holes, I'll get you guys back online here and show you how I'm doing that. So I spent a little bit more time doing some detail work on his face, cleaning up any little loose bits that were hanging down from where I carved. Now it's on to filling in all the deeper pockets that he has in him left from the spray foam. So you can see in here, there's some pretty deep pockets. I don't mind this guy being kind of knobbly and funky looking because he's gonna be this demonic pumpkin. So you don't want him to be, picture perfect. But I don't want big craters in there either. So originally my plan was to take liquid nails and cover the whole thing in liquid nails, including the deep pockets. And I did that on one section, and it came out all right. But what I realized very quickly was that that was going to be a pricey endeavor if I was going to fill all of those pockets with liquid nails. So I did some rummaging around the shop and a little bit of thinking, and I have plenty of joint compound. And I took the joint compound and I started filling the deeper pockets in, like you see here. And now joint compound, when you put it on too thick, it's gonna crack. That's why you put it on in thin layers when you're doing drywall. But for this application, I really don't care if it cracks because I'm gonna put a layer of liquid nails on over it anyway. So it doesn't really matter. So I started going through and I started coating everywhere with the drywall compound. And I'll show you. It's not a real fancy technique. I would just take a little scraper, find myself a pocket that I wanted to do, and just literally spread it in there. Any of the holes that fall on like the edge of where like a section seam would be, you can kind of shape that however you want. Kind of just give it the edge you want it to have. But literally, that's all I would do. I'd go through, I get all my deep pockets, fill those in. And like I said, they are gonna crack, but afterwards, I'll show you on this section here. There's a nice little crack going through here. I get my liquid nails. A little shot right in your hand. Literally, we're going to be rubbing this whole guy down and coating his whole outside with the liquid nails. And then afterwards, you can't see the crack, anything like that. And then once you add the layers of paint and all the finish work on, you'll never know it's there. It's waterproof from the foam on the back and the liquid nails on the front, so you don't have to worry about it getting wet or anything like that. And that's going to be my technique that I use moving forward with this guy. So I'm going to do his whole face, his whole head, get him all up to where this section now is, and then I'll bring you back in for the next step.